Hey guys, it's Ron, and you are listening to Just Real Talk. Wanted to kind of talk about how there's this quiet power in not knowing what's next. I've been sitting and thinking a lot about like what's next for me. Because looking back a couple of years ago, I always used to like plan my life to the bit. I'd be like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do next. And I had this straight up laid plan. And I've been doing that for a while. And now I'm at a point where I'm just like quietly sitting with myself, and it's almost like strange feeling, also sometimes heavy, between where we are and where we are going. So basically what I did was like this morning, I go for my morning walks usually, but today I went outside a little bit earlier when most of the world was sleeping. I barely saw like 2, 3 people out there, and I had my tea, and I went down to the water, and the geese were like at the water. They were just like chilling, like going somewhere, I guess. And the breeze was like super light. And I don't know, I just sat there like with my tea in my hand and with this certain sense of awareness, like I don't know what's next. And weirdly, that felt okay. A little bit scary, but also kind of sacred, where I'm just like, I don't know what's next, but whatever it is, I'm really excited for it, like whatever is coming. And there's this strange feeling of happiness, like whatever it is, I'm super excited for it. And I don't know, we're so used to chasing certainty, next step, labels, guarantees, and not knowing can feel like failure, like stalling, like something's wrong, or it can feel like a little bit uneasy especially if you are somebody who's so used to like planning things, what's next. And, so stepping out of that planning state, it can be a little bit daunting. But again, the reason I felt so like I felt so at ease was because maybe it's not scary. Like maybe it's not. Like I said, I felt this strange calm feeling, and I just started smiling like randomly. And I think it's such an infectious state to be in, because people mirror you. Every single person who was passing me by just like literally started like smiling back at me. And I was just like, oh, okay, it's definitely something that I'm radiating. Like this, you're in this liminal like space, this I don't know moment. It's just life asking us to be still for a moment. And in that moment, I feel like you're able to see a lot more of life versus when you're always planning, because you're always in your head, right? And again, think I just learned how to trust more so now than ever. And I'm a very spiritual person. And in my spiritual journey, I'm into like different kinds of like, Kabbalistic teachings, and also listen to Rumi a lot. I read poems about spirituality, and also to add, my grandma is Buddhist, so I do have some Buddhism in my genes. So yeah, I've always been exposed to that. I am aware of certain Buddhist teachings, which I don't want to get into in so much detail. So I guess that's how I get my spirituality from. It's my family. Like, my grandma has always had this certain level of calmness, certain level of knowing, certain level of chill that I feel like I'm actually trying to embody myself. And the spiritual aspect of things, I'm also learning a lot from her, or have learned from her, the way she embodied herself. So yeah, that's how I also got into spirituality. Like, I think the older you get, the more you realize that you've always known that that's your true self. You've always embodied that part of yourself, and now you're just accepting more of that. And yeah, why I mentioned like Buddhism and spirituality into this whole not knowing concept is because like there are these multiple teachings in Buddhism, and the concept of not knowing is actually a very deeply spiritual and liberating state to be in. And I can quickly give you some things I know. There's some things called Shoshin, that's like beginner's mind. There's Anika, that's like embracing impermanence. And there's like Shunyata, that's like the wisdom of emptiness. And there's so many of these things. There's also like non-attachment to outcome, and mindfulness and the present moment. And all these are like some teachings of Buddhism that I know. I might not be an expert, but these are teachings that I've learned. Like I said, I do have a Buddhist background, but also at the same time, these are also teachings that I've read through. And I could go into detail in another episode, but it somehow connects with what we are talking about here. I guess at the end of the day, the only thing we can rely on is change. So when we don't know, we are actually more in harmony with truth than we are to try to force answers. So that's some spiritual wisdom there. Could get into, like I said, we could get into more detail about all these principles. In another episode, I will be talking about spirituality, and different teachings and different kinds of stuff that I've learned by being spiritual. But yeah, a lot of Carl Jung readings. Yeah, like I said, I've come to see not knowing as fertile ground. It's where all growth starts to a certain point. It's like this pause between heartbeats and the breath before the answer, or the silence before the song. Sounds kind of, whatever, artistic, but that's exactly how I feel. There's this quiet, beautiful feeling before life unfolds for you. But I'm a firm believer that life always unfolds for you. Like right now, it's unfolding for you. I've had so many moments lately with people I love, with my own creative journey, even with this podcast, where I just didn't know what was going to happen. And I still don't know to a certain degree. And that's okay. And for someone like me who feels deeply, that used to shake me. But now I just let it be. I let the not knowing be part of the knowing, if that makes sense. And so if you're listening right now and you don't have basically the answers to, that's not a flaw. I think that's a sign that you're alive. It's a sign that something is shifting and you're okay with not knowing what's next. And you're not lost. You're just between versions of yourself. You're transitioning before you know what's next, if that makes sense. And I think that's truly powerful. And I'm excited about what's next, because right now, this uneasy feeling that I'm feeling about the future or what's next is, I know for a fact, is this growth phase of myself that I know is coming, because there's so much I learned through this process. Like when you're in between, my cat was actually making some noise. So this is Luna. This is my cat. Hi, Luna. Say hi. So yeah, I just wanted to say, if anyone's feeling confused as to what's gonna happen next, or what's this quiet space that you might not have all the answers for, let's just honor that space between no longer and not yet. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're exactly where you're meant to be, even if it doesn't make sense yet. So everything's gonna work out. And I know that if you can believe that within yourself, I think anything's possible. And it might not make sense to you right now, but trust me, when you're yourself, that's why I said go out into the nature, just try to spend as much time as you can with yourself. And I think that's when your most true self comes outside. Some people might understand this, some people might not understand this, and that's okay. But when you're with yourself for a bit, I think you will start listening to yourself and you'll exactly understand what you want and you'll go for it. Like I said, that's what I wanted to talk about today. So I'm sending peace your way, I'm sending presence your way, and a little reminder that you don't need all the answers to be walking the right path. Because you're already walking the right path, and whatever path you're taking is the right path. And this is Ron, and I'll see you in the quiet. Until then, this is Just Real Talk, and I'll see you next time.